Welcome to the camp interview. In this series, we have conversations with creators about their work and life. My name is Miko, and I'm a pianist and president of the Contemporary Art Music Project. Our first guest is Indigo Knecht. Hi, Indigo.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for being here and talking with me. We met last year, right?
Yes, at the Camp Young Composers. I'm not sure. It was like a little cohort of us.
Right. Yeah. And you were one of the composers selected for our first Young Composers competition. Um, and I think we sent out the call last year, maybe around this time later
Mhm.
of the year. And then we communicated through um, emails, a lot of emails, and we had Zoom sessions with composers. And then we actually met in person when we had that small event of
Mhm.
concert in February, and then you came to the campground, the festival. So yeah,
Yeah, it was a super fun experience. I am excited to see who's next.
yes, yeah. It was great, and all the pieces were inspired by poetry. So that was interesting collaboration with the youth literary arts group in Tampa. Heard them say. So yeah, it was great fun, and now you are serving as assistant director for the camp and campground. Um, so it's very exciting, and yeah, how's working with camp so far?
I love it. I really love the project, and I think there's so many great composers that have been brought in through camp. So I'm excited to or see and hear this upcoming year's festival and meeting more people. I would love to do another roundtable discussion if we can, like we did last year. And yeah, just hear from all composers and everyone's thought processes.
Yeah, great. So, I mean, today we're gonna talk about you mostly. So, yeah, wanted to have this interview introducing kind of three parts of your life and um, your work. Um, so we start talking about the past, that any kind of music or any kind of creators that influenced you and made you a composer right now.
Mhm.
And the second part, we will focus talking about your work and your other interests, if you have any other interests in non-music or non-musical activities or anything else. And then I think we will talk about your future plan, also your colleagues, other composers whom um, you like to talk about their work and any kind of their creative output. So yeah, um, so we can talk about your past and how you really got into uh, this business and who really influenced you, who made you um, pursue music and music making.
Yeah, so I didn't really start composing until I was about 17. I've been a tubist for since I was 14 years old, so I've been playing music for a while. Before that, I was a flutist. Um, but I didn't start composing until I was 17. Part of it was just because I didn't really know that was an option. As silly as that sounds, I had never really met any living composers. So in my head, it was just like, I mean, obviously composers are still alive today, but in my head as a kid, I wasn't really thinking that that was like something I could do as a career because I just had never met anybody who was a modern day composer of classical music.
Well,
But yeah, one day I was in the Toledo Youth Orchestra back in Toledo, Ohio, and we actually brought in a composer. And because of that like moment, I kind of just decided, and he was talking to us about how he wrote the piece and everything. I decided that I want to be a composer too. Um, one of my favorite pieces at the time was something that I had been playing in that same orchestra cycle. Um, Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, where we're just doing movement one, the one of the only completed movements. Um, and we didn't have a third trombone player, so I on tuba was playing the third trombone part. So what really just stuck out to me was just the passion of the trombone chorale section of the first movement. So that's just something that was really stuck in my head that inspired me to start writing. So I kind of went along the lines of that piece as I started writing my first composition ever, which I will not share today, but it was a piece for band, and I really focused on the low brass for the very eruptive moments of the piece.
yeah, so you started kind of you feel need
Mhm.
for your instrument actually.
Yeah, and it was just kind of what made sense to me because I played the instrument.
Mm.
Um, my high school band director was really helpful. She actually sat down with me. I showed her like my progress for writing the band piece. I wanted to start with the band piece because I was in band, and again, thanks to the my band director, she was just super motivating, super encouraging throughout the whole process. So she helped me write, okay, this is too high for a trumpet player, and like this is how you write for a clarinet instrument, just based on she actually gave me some of her scores, her band scores of music that we were working on in our symphonic band, so I could look through and kind of get an idea for orchestration. And yeah, from there I applied to schools. I was in my senior year, so and kind of a last minute change. I was originally going to go into graphic design. I decided to last minute apply to music schools. Um, very rushed process, but I ended up getting accepted into Bowling Green State University's composition studio. Only place I got into for composition because I had just started, but I'm really thankful that they accepted me. um,
Yeah.
But from there, I got even more inspiration for writing music. I was opened up to just worlds of music I didn't know existed. This is where I started to hear contemporary music. I was in youth orchestra and band and everything, but we played pretty standard pieces, I guess. A lot of composers that have been, long past, uh, as opposed aside from like a couple more contemporary composers. Um, So one piece that really stood out to me there at BGSU was when we had listened to the faculty concerts.
Mm.
So we have a faculty composer concert every, I believe, once a year. So I was a freshman. This is fall 2016. And the composers concert, there is one composer that I knew as soon as I heard her music, I was going to study with her. Um, so this was Eleni Lilios. She is an electroacoustic composer, writes a lot for live electronics with solo instruments. Um, the piece that she had performed that night was called After a Long Drought. It's for solo vibraphone. And I just remember just being like mesmerized by the live electronics of the piece in like addition to like the choreography of the with the vibraphone. So I knew at that point essentially that I was going to write electronic music. And I guess that kind of brings me to where I went from there. Um, I study currently with Dr. Dorothy Heineman, and because of her, I'm really into spectralism now. So a lot of my work is influenced by timbre and just spectra in general. So yeah, and she's introduced me to some great pieces such as Mortuos Plango, Vivos Voco by Jonathan Harvey. Um, I gone into my own rabbit hole with Kaija Saariaho. One of my favorite pieces from her that I've studied for a little while now is La Passion de Simone. Very amazing oratorio, has some great electronic elements as well. So I feel like I don't really I don't know how to describe my current voice, but it's just like a collection of all the things I've studied at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting that when you ran into Eleni Rilios piece, have you had any experience with electronic music, or that was first time ever?
That was the first time ever. I had never worked in any kind of audio program prior to that. So that was I was a freshman. I approached her after the concert. I was like, when can I take your electronic music classes? And she laughed and she was like, you have to wait until your junior year. So it wasn't until 2018 when I actually started officially writing for electronics. Other than that, I tried to do some things in like Audacity. Um, through like some I think I had a music history class my sophomore year where we were studying music concrete, so I was using Audacity to put together like recordings and tried to make some um music concrete pieces, but I didn't totally get into electronics until 2018. So I guess I've only been doing this for 6 years now, but it's been really fun.
Yeah, it's interesting how specific moments decide your path.
Mhm.
That how you also inspired by this guest composer when you were in high school and decided
Mhm.
to write music, and also that your experience with Schubert unfinished symphony. That's kind of very momentary experience, and then also with electronic music, and it's also, I feel that it's very brave that it's always something new to you because you haven't really tried, but you just jump at it once you get really inspired by it.
Yeah, I feel like that's always just been my case. I still want to try new things with music. Like for instance, the piece I wrote for the Camp Young Composers
Hmm.
um project that I was a part of. I want to experiment with something outside my comfort zone. Um, so I tried to do like an 80s goth rock vibe to the piece. I don't know if I'll do that again just because like that was definitely something I was not prepared to do, but it was a fun thing to explore for the project and getting to work with a poet that I had just discovered was really cool.
Yeah. Were you not ever afraid of trying something new or always excited?
I think it's just exciting in general. I love composing music and I don't know, I kind of just want to see where it takes me. So I I really enjoy the idea of just trying anything new. Like my favorite projects when I was an undergrad was whenever our composition workshop professors would give us a prompt and we had to follow it. I always thought that was like a fun challenge. Like, how do I turn something into my own thing with a prompt that I didn't create?
Mm,
So, I mean, I still love to do that. And with my own students, I try to give them prompts like, what can you turn this into?
mm, yeah. I mean, you started teaching, so you will probably get into your teaching and your mentoring younger composers. But also, I noted that you had interest in, or probably more than interest in, graphic design, which I did not know before.
Yeah, that's actually when I was in high school, I took college courses for graphic design and 3D animation. So for a while, I was creating logos and just websites and things like that. My my skills are a bit out of date, but I still love the art part of it, graphic design. Um, I love creating art in general. So yeah, like I used to love making logos, essentially. Um, the last thing I was really focusing on is I thought I was going to become like a 3D animator. So I was animating like dragons and phoenixes, like some mythical creatures for my own little side video game project that never got completed. But
Hmm.
yeah, I was really interested in that. I guess I consider more of a hobby now.
Have you ever thought of combining it with music?
I thought about it. I just don't have the equipment for it right now.
Hmm.
That is something I'd love to approach in the future. Again, like technology keeps evolving. I am almost a decade out of date in terms of my graphic design skills with the software. So it would take some relearning, but I would love to do animations for my music or at least do some kind of video project. It's something I've been wanting to do once I can afford the equipment for better processor and things where I can actually do that on my own. Um, but yeah, that's been the nice thing about working with camp is that I do get to do some website stuff now. So it's a little bit of graphic design, not crazy because I'm not redesigning anything, but it is like a nice outlet for that creativity.
Yeah. I mean, these days, I think, especially visual arts, they were also affected by, and probably developed by AI and all
Oh
kinds
yeah.
of programs. So I'm sure it's, the technology uh, has been really improved in many different ways.
Oh yeah. I was using Illustrator just to design something um for one of my student orgs, Society of Composers here at University of Miami, and I was messing around with the new AI feature of Illustrator, and it was crazy to me because
Yeah.
yeah, back at almost a decade ago when I was in classes for using Illustrator, this was not a possibility, and it had solutions to things that I just did all by hand with the
Mm.
drawing tablet. So it was I don't know, I try to I'm a little afraid of it, but also I am like excited to learn new things and see like how I can use these tools creatively. So I try to keep an open mind about it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you had this work that you had to kind of use poetry that was for
Mhm.
the Camp Young Composers work. I also commissioned you a very short piano work, for this concert in at the University of Miami this fall, and it also used some narrative of, I assume it's your own. Um, so yeah, what do you think of how was your experience kind of working, um, making music, using non-musical material?
I absolutely love it. I used to write poetry. I don't really do that anymore, but I used to explore with it. Um, More often now, I rather use other people's
Mm,
poems with their permission, just because I, one, I know so many great poets. One of my best friends is a poet who I'll talk about in relation to one of my pieces in a little bit, but um, I absolutely loved the Camp Young Composers project of working with a poet because I believe her name is Tally Cooper
yeah.
was the poet I worked with. Um, Very just great poem about the idea of, you know, transitioning to a new phase of your life, a new chapter.
Mm.
And I was just really inspired by her text. And I think in general that just made it really easy to write with because like I could feel the emotions in her words and figure out how to convey that musically. So for me, text is always just a enhances the process for me. Um, in terms of the piece that I wrote for you, for solo piano, that was a public domain poem. It was a sonnet by Edna St. Vincent Millay, called I Being Born, a Woman in Distress. So same title that I gave the piece. And while I don't know the true intentions behind the sonnet, I just loved how it sounded rhythmically,
Mm.
along with the feelings it gave me. Um, Kind of the idea of what does it mean to be a woman, and the idea of women always being seen as subordinate to men. So that kind of turmoil really just resonated with me, and I wanted to talk about it in the piece. Um, just especially based on the project you did. You did.
Right.
I Yeah, it was a text that had been in my head that I really was thinking at some point that I would want to set, and this was just a great opportunity for it. Um, it is public domain, so anyone, if they're interested in reading it, it is available.
Great. I actually had a question about the electronics part that
Mhm.
was it your own voice reciting the
It was, and I don't know, I like to use my voice on a lot of my pieces, um, partially because it feels like a performance to me. I guess it is in a way. I don't really get to perform much anymore as a doctoral student in composition since I'm so focused on my studies, but I I miss performing, and part of what I've wanted to do is to recite poetry more. And there's been a part of me that thought at one point maybe I would do slam poetry. Because I did write poetry in high school. Again, another hobby that I kind of have that I don't necessarily do much anymore, but I love dramatic readings and I just love reading in general. So I love trying to see how I can make things sound reading wise. So, like, actually focusing on how words sound and rhythmic structures, but also just in general, like performing the text, if that makes sense.
It does. Have you actually wrote a song or using extra voice? I mean, my piece was
Mhm.
mainly piano piece, but
Mhm.
with the fixed media that had the voice in it.
Yeah, a lot of my fixed media works actually have voice in them. And I've been trying to work more with other people's voices too, just to get more variety. But yeah, it's something I've been really interested in. Another piece I wrote before your piece was for tenor sax and harp, and I also had a vocal part
Mm.
um in it that was pre-recorded, and in that I was reciting Latin phrases. So I do it often in electroacoustic pieces just because I think it's I don't know, I think it adds an interesting element. And for me, it's like part of, I think, what gives my music its sound is that I literally use my own voice in it.
Mhm.
So it's just something I've kind of, it's been working for me. So I'll guess I'll keep doing it until I get sick of it.
Yeah, get sick of your own voice.
Yeah, which is why I love to record other people now. So I've been trying to do that more and try to get other people's interpretations outside of my own.
Yeah. What about your work shoulder to shoulder?
Yeah, so Shoulder to Shoulder is actually originally a poem written by one of my best friends named Martina Liddy. She is currently a poet based in Tampa, Florida.
Oh,
So not too far from you.
mm,
Um, but this was, I believe, the second stanza of the poem, and that I wanted to set for fixed media. So what I decided to do is I collected a group of my colleagues and friends together. They all read the poem for me. I asked them to perform it whatever way they wanted to perform it. So,
hmm
so I have one person who's actually whispering the text, but and then I also performed it myself just because I wanted to use my interpretation. But it's kind of like a collage of her ideas. Um, for me, it really felt kind of somewhat like a breakup poem, which will make more sense if you listen to the text. But I really want to convey those emotions of growing apart from somebody or somebody leaving you. Um, and in general, it's just probably one of my favorite poems. So I really just envisioned it as a piece. I asked her actually while I was in town for camp this past March when I was in town, I approached her about, can I use your poem for this piece? And she gave me permission to. So that was really nice of her. But yeah, since then it's gone to a couple of different festivals. It's gone to Click Fest. It's gone to um Jacksonville Electroacoustic Music Festival. It's gone there. It'll go to Mock Sonic in actually this upcoming March. But yeah, I think it's one of my favorite pieces because it uses voices as well as other like extra musical material. I have like train sounds, I have sounds from planes. It's all stuff I've recorded myself, essentially. So, and then I also have myself playing piano in it a little bit. But yeah, I say I one of my favorite things to do is write fixed media. So this is an example of that.
great. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting how this kind of non-musical interest gets to music and creative process.
Yeah, I've noticed that so many of my pieces start with something extra musical, like whether that's a painting or any kind of other art form that's not musical. I have some other pieces. I have a piece that's based on a blanket I have that's inspired by like just a textile, which was a fun process to do. I'm working on another piece right now that's based on a mural. So it's yeah, I just love all forms of art and I feel like it just so many of my pieces are informed by other pieces of art that I don't know, I think it's been a while since I've written something that was just music for the sake of being music.
Yeah. I mean, altogether, I think it's about creating
Hmm.
and having your original work. That's yeah.
Yeah, and Yeah, I love collaborating, especially. So if I can work with somebody else, I
Mm,
feel like it just the ideas that I can bounce off of somebody else makes everything so much better.
mm. And you can always get you can look at things in from different angles, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I love having feedback too.
Hmm.
So if I'm working with a collaborator and they can tell me what they're hearing,
Hmm.
it helps me so much because then I can get a little bit of a different perspective outside of my head.
Right. Yeah. What are your interests in even non-arts?
Uh,
You have anything
well,
that's
well, besides graphic design, I did used to write a lot of poetry, not so much now, but there are times where I'll sit down and I'll try to just write something. Um, I used to love writing short stories as well.
oh.
So that's something I used to do. More recently, I guess my hobbies have been more visual art based though. So again, like graphic design, I love painting. So it's something I do every now and then as I'll just paint something random. Um, More abstract normally, nothing like I'm not really into realism, I guess. But yeah, I enjoy art. I always knew I was going to be an artist of some type. I just didn't totally know where that would take me, like which kind.
Right. Yeah. Is it visual or, you know,
Hmm.
more temper or like
Yeah, exactly.
sounds?
But
Yeah. Or yeah. 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 Cool. Or what's your are you drawing with what kind of material do you use? Watercolor or oil?
I love acrylic paint, honestly. Just standard, just kind of painting on a canvas.
Cool.
Um, I do like watercolor too. I haven't done that much lately, but I would love to get back into it. Um, my partner has been painting a lot more, so that's been getting me to want to start painting more again too.
Mhm.
So, um, but yeah, I love to just have a set of acrylic paints and just painting, just mixing colors and creating just um masses of color essentially. Um, if it's not an abstract painting, I'll do like a landscape. I love recreating like natural landscapes and nature. So um, probably the biggest hobby I do in general though is going to parks. I love walking in nature. So that's something I like to do. A lot of my pieces have natural sounds in them, and that's because I'll just record when I'm walking. So I love going to my favorite park to go to here in Miami is the Doug Barnes Park. It's really pretty, has some nice trees to look at and some fun birds to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That sounds very nice. You have your
Yeah,
calm downtime in the park.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were in based in Miami, and
Mhm.
just by saying it, I felt like it's so busy. Miami, a lot of things.
Yeah.
Exciting. You're also very busy with your finishing up your degree
Mhm.
at the University of Miami, and also you're teaching, working. So yeah, how are you juggling all of this busy career?
Yeah. Somehow. uh, I try I honestly just schedule every moment of my day. So it's either I'm working on something for the classes I teach, I'm doing my own course materials, I'm composing. Um, yeah, I just have every minute scheduled, really. Um, I mean, I enjoy it though. I have a good time overall. So Um, University of Miami has been great. Um, this is, yeah, the final year of my DMA program, so we'll see where I go after this.
Yeah, you had defense, right? Your dissertation.
I had the proposal defense,
Uh,
which I passed, so that went really well. I'm currently just in the midst of writing the dissertation itself, so hopefully by mid-March, I'll defend that part. Yeah, so there's, yeah, a lot to look forward to.
mhm.
Um, a lot of work that I need to do still.
Yeah, what is the topic for your dissertation?
Yeah, so it is a multimedia installation. It's called The Chanting of Coral Reefs. I'm actually using coral reef data to create the composition. So it's like a sonification of the data, turning the numbers into
Mhm.
music. Um, I'm collaborating with a scientist here at University of Miami. She's a postdoc fellow. Her name is Dr. Melissa Ruzick. Um, but it's been a great process. The idea is that it's going to be a multi-speaker setup, so someone can walk in a room, listen to the sonified data, and then there'll also be an interactive element where they can approach these coral sculptures that I'm building. Um, if they press a button on the sculpture, it'll influence the sound, or if they approach it, there's also infrared proximity sensors, which will um, take their input and also influence the sound, try to give somewhat of a metaphor for human impact on the environment. Um, but our goal with this project has been to, educate the community on coral reef preservation, especially since we are in Miami.
Right.
It's a really important topic. She came here specifically to study the coral reefs. Um, But yeah, my goal is to create an educational installation for this. Um, Hopefully we'll have a premiere in April, but yeah, it's a really fun project. I was really excited that my committee was also super excited about the project, so my proposal defense went really smoothly, thankfully. And they gave me a lot of great suggestions moving forward. So I am in the composition process right now and writing chapters with my research so far.
Great. Where is going the premiere going to be?
We are in no negotiation with venues right now, so um, we don't really have a specific location, but I am very hopeful. We have some funding, so we will ideally we'd like to have it here on campus, um, at the Low Art Museum.
Yeah. Oh, that
But
would be.
again, yeah, but again, we're pending negotiation processes. Um, Before the official premiere, I do plan to have a test run of it here on campus. So I will be renting a space at Frost so we can do a test run of it so I can finish my dissertation part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm super excited and I'm very hopeful that we'll have a great place for it to premiere regardless of what happens. So
Yeah, very exciting. You're also busy. You're involved with SCI
mhm,
in Miami chapter, I believe, and um, also teaching. Um, are you
mhm.
actually teaching composers, composition theory, um, both?
Currently, right now, I just teach here at Frost. I'm a graduate TA for our experiential musicianship curriculum, and I teach theory for theory 1 through 4
Mhm.
here at Frost. Um, And then at Miami-Dade College, I teach theory and oral skills. Um, with my The great thing is I get to teach a little bit of composition through music theory. So while I don't teach an official music theory course right now, I do still get to um, help students compose at
Mhm.
least. So I do enjoy when we have our composition projects. Um, Here it's a part of their curriculum for students in theory to compose. So we have projects throughout the semester in which they're composing short pieces based on the theory they've been learning. Um, and I've actually brought some of this over to my adjunct position at Miami-Dade College, where I am having my students there compose short projects there as well, so they can kind of apply their knowledge, which has been super fun. So I love to see what the students create and like
Mhm.
give them feedback and just things they can think about compositionally.
You were also involved with SCI, and I'm sure it's a lot of work, being involved and also planning events and projects with SCI, things like that.
Yeah, I am currently our secretary, so I help with a lot of the coordination aspects of it, but we have a lot of great projects happening this year.
Yeah, fun. You're also interested in this administrative side of music, uh,
Mhm.
and which not everybody uh, is interested in and willing to be part of administration of any organization or any kind of music um, involved business or industry. So, yeah, how did you kind of start, putting your feet in this?
Yeah, so I actually started in my undergrad at Bowling Green State University. Um, we had a chapter of SCI there as well. And one year they really needed a marketing director. And since I had experience with graphic design, I decided to run for it. So that's kind of how I got started with music administration. Um, Other than that, I was also in a honorary band sorority called Tau Beta Sigma. Um, and there we did service projects for the marching band and the concert bands and everything. So yeah, this is something I've been passionate about for years now. Um, so I was really excited to have the opportunity to work with camp just because it is something I've wanted to do. Um, while I would love to become a professor one day at a university, I also am really interested in arts administration, so I'd love to do that as a career as well. Wherever it takes me, whichever way I go, I'll be happy either way.
Yeah, that's great. So many
Mhm.
things that you're interested in, and so many things that you are actually doing. Um,
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for it because it gives me a variety. I know that I'll have something to do after I graduate. It's just a matter of what what comes first, I guess.
yeah, I mean, these days I feel that it's great to be versatile and um, be able to offer a lot of different services, and have abilities to teach or run an organization or do different things. Um, and in a way, that's what's asked also a lot of times.
Mhm.
So, Yeah, yeah, it's great. You have a lot to offer.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I try to have like various hats I can wear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, we are going to usually ask interviewee to recommend the
Mhm.
interviewees for next interviews and next shows. So if you have few names in mind and want to talk about them, also their work, um, about them as a creator.
Yeah, I have a person in particular who I think would be great for this. Her name is Yeun Sim. She is a composer at, I believe, Peabody. And I met her over the summer at Connecticut Summerfest, which was a week-long festival where it was just a small cohort of us. And we had a piece premiered by some guest ensembles, as well as a lot of different workshops, and we had got to present our music. And I absolutely love her music. She presented a work to us in her presentation forum that she gave called, I believe it was called Yellow Shaped Eternity for piano, for solo piano. Absolutely gorgeous piece. Her music just, for me, it feels very mystical and just a lot of uh, beautiful colors throughout all of her music. I'm not sure which year she is in right now at Peabody. She might be a junior now, but yeah, fantastic composer. I'm excited to see where she goes for grad school.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, yeah. Do you have
Um,
any anybody else or?
yeah, there's another. Sorry, I'm going to keep recommending composers I met at the festival. Another
Oh,
composer I met, um, her name is Nicole Noor. She actually got her master's from the same place I got my master's from, University of Michigan. Um, but she I has some really beautiful graphic scores, which have been really fascinating to me. Um, so I think she would be a fantastic composer as well. She has some really cool music. There was one piece she presented to us that was essentially a card game improv improvisational piece, which I thought was amazing, super fun. Um, she also showed us a piece called Sagittarius A, which was really cool. Really enjoyed the piece for percussion. Um, and then there's also another composer that I met there. His name is Jalen Vinson. I believe he studies at Rice University right now. But fantastic composer who just has a lot of great humor and he covers a lot of serious topics in his music. Um, in general, I think any of them would be fantastic to have on the podcast. They are all young, up and coming composers, and they're already doing so much in their careers that I think that's, yeah, I would love to hear what they have to say.
cool. Yeah. Well, do you have anything you want to add or you want to share with our audience?
Um, I'm not sure. uh, I, yeah, I hope you at least have like an idea of what I like to do as a composer
Mm.
or well as a person in general. I'm still learning. I feel like one thing I like to say is just don't stop learning and don't stop trying new things compositionally. So um I don't who knows what my next piece will be at this point. I mean besides my dissertation, I know what that's gonna be as I continue composing it, but I don't know. I want to continue trying new art forms, new styles of music, and yeah, the piece I mentioned earlier, who with my poet friend, we're actually working on an album that will be released in a couple years, hopefully. So something to look forward to post graduation will be this album that we're working on. Um, Shoulder to Shoulder will be the final track listing, but it's based on it's a collaboration of her poets, her published poems that I'm setting to music. So
Yeah, that
yeah,
sounds
it's just it is just delayed because I'm still in school.
right. But that's an exciting, really exciting project. And then you can design the cover art.
Yeah, you know, or find or get a third friend involved.
Yeah, or you can you can use
Yeah,
your artistic talent.
it would be fun. I have some ideas. Something to think, something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, fun. Well, it was great talking with you and sharing um your music, your also sharing, your whole process of making your works and your inspirations and everything. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Yes, yeah. And also thank you for your recommendations. And I'm excited to
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
know the composers.
yeah. I hope to hear them on here.
Yes, yeah. Okay, we can probably listen to your work. Uh,
Okay.
and of course, that way our audience can hear your work and get to know about you more. So we'll do that. But meanwhile, thank you, and um, I guess we'll see each other in,
Yeah,
in March.
in March.
In
Sounds
March.
good.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
We're on a train. We're on a train.
We're on it. We're on it.
Train.
We're on a train. We're in a library.
We are dissolving into the skyline.
Like sugar water.
We're on a train. We're in a library. We're dissolving into the skyline like sugar water.
I still have lists. I still have to tell you about the newspaper caught in the street grid.
A broken clock.
A white flag.
Adrift and arrested mid-flight. We're dissolving. We're dissolving. Dissolving.
Here we are, nose to nose. As if I could inhale you.
If I could breathe, I would inhale you.
If I could breathe, I would inhale you.
Inhale. Inhale. Inhale.
library.
We're dissolving into the skyline like sugar water.
I still have lists.
still have
have
lists.
to tell you about the newspaper caught in the street grate, a broken clock, a white flag, adrift, and arrested mid-flight.
Here we are.
Here we
nose
are.
To nose.
Nose to nose.
As if I could inhale you.
If I could breathe, I would inhale you.
Here's the wall where you're about to leave me.
Here are your new footprints, like craters in a blitzed neighborhood.
Before this poem ends,
You all have left me.
You've left me.
We're on a train. We're in a library. We're on a train. We're in a library. We're dissolving. We're dissolving. 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 We're dissolving into the skyline. I still have to tell you. I still have to tell you about the newspaper caught in the street grate. I still have to tell you. Tell you. I still have to tell you about the newspaper caught in the street grate. A broken clock. A broken clock. A broken clock. A white flag. A white flag. Flag. White. A white flag. Adrift and arrested. Adrift and arrested mid-flight. Mid-flight. Here we are. Here we're on a train. Here in a library.
Nose
Here
to nose.
we're dissolving into the skyline
Here
like sugar water.
Nose to
No,
nose.
I still have lists.
Nose
I still
to
have to
nose.
tell you about the newspaper caught in the street grate,
Nose
a
to
broken
nose.
clock,
Nose
a white
to nose.
flag,
Nose
adrift
to
and
nose.
arrested mid-flight. As if I could inhale you. Here we are, nose to nose, as if I could inhale you. I could inhale you. If I could breathe, I would inhale you. Here's the wall. If I could breathe. Where you're about to leave me. If I. Here
Breathe.
are your new footprints like craters
breathe.
in a
Breathe.
blitzed neighborhood. Breathe. Before this poem
Breathe.
ends, you'll have left me.
I would inhale.
You've left me. You step into time like a new pair of shoes. I would inhale you. Here's the walls.
Here's the wall.
you're about to leave me.
Here's the wall. You're about to leave me. Here are your new footprints. Before this poem ends,
Poem ends. We're on a train. We're in a library. Grass
where the
sky
We're dissolving into the skyline.
Door left.
I still have to tell you about it.
Drift. Here we are. Drifted. If I could inhale. If I could breathe, I would. Here's the wall where you're about to leave. Here are your new footprints, like craters in a blitz. Before this poem ends, here's the wall you'll have left. step into time like a new step into time like a new pair of shoes. Here's the wall. Just talk about somehow. Here are your new creators and with shoes. Before this poem ends, you'll have left
Drift and arrested
pair
you step into time like a new pair of shoes.
You've left me. You step into time like a new pair of shoes.
If I could breathe, I would.
Like a new pair of shoes.
Here's the wall where you're about to leave me. Here are your new footprints like craters in a blitz neighborhood. Before this poem ends, you'll have left me. You've left me. You step into time like a new pair of shoes.